Hey everybody, I'm Kate Arndt. I am the Youth and Diary Historian here at the museum in Houston, at the Holocaust Museum in Houston. I am very excited to welcome you to another episode of Youth Chats, a series in which I get to discuss Jewish teens and children, diarists and non-diarists, since I said I am the Youth and Diary Historian here at the Holocaust Museum. And I would like to present to you a child today, one that is not a diarist, and this child I have been studying since 2010, so I have been studying this child for quite a long time and still finding out new things about him, even till this day, which is great. This child did not live very long, sadly. He died when he was 7 years old, but I'd like to present to you little Tomas Kulka, as he is also on the cover of my little prop here. So this book is usually used for tours when I go through our main gallery, and usually at different sections I will present a teen or a child to students or to adults or to anybody who will listen. And the reason why I do this is because it gives people context. When they say a number, they'll say 1.5 million Jewish children were murdered, 1.5 million Jewish teens and children were murdered in the Holocaust. And to me, my first thought is, who were they or what were their names? So I like to give students and adults or people who like to come a name to a face, or a name to a place, really. And so Tomas Kulka is also from the Czech Republic, just like the past three we've done. As you can see, Peter begins right here. So Tomas was born on May 25th, 1934 in Olomouc, Czech Republic. He was born to Robert Kulka and Elsa Skutska, and he was the only child of Robert and Elsa, and as his mother said, birth was a very horrible business and I do not want to do it again. And she said, and why have another child when we have such a perfect little baby? So Tomas was born, and he grew up very happy. He loved animals. He loved stuffed animals, especially teddy bears, stuffed dogs, stuffed cats. He loved toys. In 1938, when Tomas was very young, the Nazis invaded the Czech Republic, making the lives hard for the Kulkas to survive in Olomouc. So they moved to Brno, which is where his mother was originally from, and he grew up there. And in early 1940, the family unfortunately lost their family business that they had run. It was a shipping business, I believe, from what I read and researched. And little Tomas was forbidden to go to school, so he could not go to kindergarten. I believe he couldn't go to kindergarten. So while most children were learning their ABCs, little Tomas had to learn his ABCs at home, which, he loved, because he loved his mama very dearly. He loved being with his family. He loved his grandparents very much. And in 1941, they were deported to Theresienstadt, and they unfortunately complied with the demands. And most people would ask me when I discussed this little boy, why wasn't he put into hiding? First of all, you have to remember that hiding a child was very risky, or just hiding anybody was very risky. And unfortunately, when Tomas was put into hiding, it did not go well. Tomas really cried for his mama. He wanted to be with his mother, and ultimately his mother could not part with her child. I mean, if you think about it, most parents could not part with their children because they love their children that much. Tomas was very well loved in his family, and look at that little face. He's so cute. I think he's adorable. So Tomas and his family lived in the horrible conditions of Theresienstadt, and in May of 1942, deportations to Sobibor were starting. Now, Anne Frank, Moshe Flinker, and Otto Wolf all went into hiding in 1942. Sobibor is what they were hiding from. People could not imagine that horrible nightmare. In their wildest imaginations, they could not imagine that horrible nightmare that was that ghastly place of Sobibor. Sobibor was a death camp in Poland. It does not exist anymore, and I'll explain why in just a minute. So Sobibor was really one of the very first places to kill Jews, and they used gas chambers there. So his grandmother and Tomas were put on a train to Sobibor. His parents did not go with him. His parents were deported to Ossowa labor camp. And little Tomas, this is information that I have found recently, is that he got off the train. Tomas is 7 years old at this point. So Tomas gets off the train. He sees bad men with guns, and he decides to make a run for it. He molts, basically. And he starts running, and a Nazi starts shooting at him. They miss, obviously. And his grandmother is screaming, for mercy, please don't shoot my grandbaby. He's all I have. And so commando who works there grabs him by the short tail, by the shirt collar, like back of the shirt here. And basically says, no, you just want to get it over with now. You don't want to be shot. You just want to die naturally, as he said it. So he brings him back, and the Nazi's going to shoot him, but the grandmother says, please, he's all I have. So they go to die. They are sent to the gas chambers, and unfortunately on May 8th, 1942, little Tomas Kulka is dead. And he would have turned 8 years old had he survived in 2 weeks. So Tomas, unfortunately, did not make it out. He, as you can see, he's very, very sweet. We have 3 pictures of Tomas. So only 3, which is great because we have a few. This is the main picture that most people will see of little Tomas Kulka. It's one of my favorite pictures of him because of those look at those cute little teeth, that little smile. He looks like a very happy little boy. And from my research, he was very mischievous. He loved to play outside. He loved, he was just very happy and very, he loved life, but I think he knew what bad guys with guns look like, as most children do. He was not stupid, as most people would assume. Very sweet, very loving. He loved his mama very much, as from the research that I've done. While he was in the gas chamber, the last thing he was screaming for was his mama. He was crying and screaming for his mommy. That's what he wanted. His parents both died in Ossowa, actually not even far apart from each other. His mother lasted 6 months there, and I think his father lasted around the same. So they both perished there, unfortunately. So unfortunately, the whole family died together. So Tomas came into my life actually rather interestingly in 2010 in April, and I was just researching children. I think this is at that time I was a senior in high school, and I was wanting to take my Holocaust studies more seriously, not just to diarists but to the youth as well. And this little boy pops up, and I thought, oh, look at this sweet little innocent boy, and my heart just sank when I found out that he was murdered. So Sobibor does not exist anymore. The Nazis blew it up in October of 1943. They thought that they could win this war against the Jews, which, newsflash, they didn't. But it does not exist anymore, unfortunately. But there are excavation programs that happen at Sobibor, and they still find human remains. They find artifacts, if you will. They find people's belongings. So I'm sure Thomas's stuff is still there. But Tomas and his grandmother did die together. And I believe, is it May 9th or May 8th? I can't remember. It's either May 8th or May 9th that he was killed. I'll have to double check. But anyway, he died 2 weeks before his 8th birthday. Sweetest little boy. This child has definitely been a part of my life for the past 10, 15 years. And whenever I mention Jewish children to people, I usually bring up this little boy's name, because usually most people do not know who Tomas Kulka even is or was. And there's a lot of research that I've been able to find about the family. His father was a businessman. He went to business college. His mother, I believe, made hats. So they wanted, and actually his mother was married previously, but had no children from that marriage. And I also think his father was married previously as well, but still can't confirm that. I'm still trying to research that. But anyway, Thomas was the only child as far as I knew, and they loved this little boy dearly. And if you ever want to look him up, just Google him. It's Thomas is spelled Tomas. So it's the Czech way of spelling Thomas, the sweetest little boy. So there's, like I said, there's 3 pictures of him. 2 of them were taken when he was 3 years old, and he's just the cutest little thing. And I'm not sure when this photo was taken, but this photo is definitely the photo that I present to people, to parents, to teachers, to educators. I usually like to say, does this little boy look like a threat to you? And they'll say, no, he's adorable. And I'll say, of course, but according to the Nazis and their collaborators, this little boy was a threat and they had to be rid of him. But anyway, Thomas Kulka definitely is very important to me and definitely important here at the museum. And anyway, thank you for joining me for Youth Chats, and we'll see you soon.